The rise and catastrophic fall of Nicolas Cage's fortune. Nicolas Cage's financial story represents one of the most spectacular rises and falls in Hollywood history, a cautionary tale that continues to fascinate observers of celebrity culture and fiscal responsibility. Born Nicholas Kim Coppola in January 1964, he entered the world with considerable advantages, being the nephew of legendary director Francis Ford Coppola. However, the young actor deliberately chose to distance himself from his famous family name, adopting the stage name, Cage, as a tribute to the Marvel Comics superhero Luke Cage and the avant-garde composer John Cage. This decision reflected his determination to forge his own path in the entertainment industry, unburdened by the weight of expectations that came with the Coppola legacy. Little did anyone know that this independent spirit would eventually manifest itself in financial decisions that would lead to one of the most dramatic wealth collapses in entertainment history. Cage's early career showed promise but not immediate stardom. He appeared in films throughout the early 1980s, taking on diverse roles that showcased his willingness to experiment with different genres and characters. His breakthrough came with the 1987 romantic comedy, Moonstruck, where he starred opposite Cher, demonstrating a comedic timing and romantic charm that audiences hadn't fully seen from him before. The film was a critical and commercial success, earning multiple Academy Award nominations and winning 3 Oscars, though Cage himself wasn't nominated. This success opened doors, but it was his fearless approach to character development and his willingness to fully immerse himself in roles that would define his career trajectory. Throughout the late 1980s and early 1990s, Cage built a reputation as a serious actor who brought intensity and unpredictability to every performance. Whether in mainstream comedies or independent dramas, the turning point in Cage's career and financial fortune came in 1995 with Leaving Las Vegas, an independent film that required him to lose weight and deeply inhabit the character of Ben Sanderson, a suicidal alcoholic who travels to Las Vegas to drink himself to death. The performance was raw, vulnerable, and utterly convincing, earning Cage widespread critical acclaim and numerous awards, including the Academy Award for Best Actor. This Oscar win elevated Cage from respected character actor to A-list leading man, and Hollywood immediately recognized his new market value. The timing couldn't have been better, as the mid-1990s represented the peak of Hollywood's blockbuster era, where studios were willing to pay unprecedented sums to secure actors who could guarantee box office returns. Cage found himself perfectly positioned to capitalize on this trend, and his agents negotiated increasingly lucrative deals that would transform him into one of the highest-paid actors in the industry. Following his Oscar triumph, Cage's career entered a remarkable phase where he seemed capable of commanding enormous salaries for almost any project. In 1996 he starred in The Rock, an action thriller directed by Michael Bay that grossed over $335 million worldwide against a $75 million budget. The film established Cage as a viable action star, capable of carrying big-budget productions that appealed to international audiences. That same year, he appeared in Con Air, another action vehicle that further cemented his status as a bankable leading man. By 1997, Cage was earning $20 million per film, placing him among the elite tier of Hollywood actors whose mere presence in a project could secure financing and distribution deals. The pattern continued with Face/Off, directed by John Woo, which became both a critical and commercial success, demonstrating that Cage could work with prestigious directors while still delivering commercially viable entertainment. The late 1990s and early 2000s saw Cage's earning power reach its absolute zenith. He commanded salaries that few other actors could match, regularly receiving $20 million upfront payments plus substantial back-end participation in box office profits. His filmography during this period reflected a diverse range of projects, from the action spectacle, Gone in 60 Seconds, to the science fiction thriller, Next, from the historical adventure, National Treasure, franchise to the romantic drama, The Family Man. Studios were willing to meet his price demands because his films consistently performed well at the box office, particularly in international markets where his brand of intense, unconventional performances resonated with audiences. Between 2000 and 2007, industry estimates suggest that Cage earned somewhere between $150 million and $200 million from his film work alone, not accounting for back-end participation, endorsements, or other revenue streams. This extraordinary income placed Cage in rarefied financial territory, but it also created a situation where his lifestyle expenses and investment decisions would need to be managed with exceptional care and prudence. Unfortunately, as would later become clear, Cage's approach to wealth management was anything but careful or prudent. The same intensity and passion that made him a compelling actor seemed to manifest in his spending habits, creating a perfect storm of financial recklessness that would eventually consume his entire fortune. During his peak earning years, Cage wasn't just making movies. He was building an empire of possessions that reflected his eclectic tastes, his love of history and artifacts, and his apparent belief that his earning power would continue indefinitely. The warning signs were there for anyone paying attention. But in the bubble of celebrity wealth and enablement that surrounded him, few people were willing or able to inject reality into his financial decision-making process. The foundation of Cage's financial collapse wasn't laid in a single moment of poor judgment, but rather through a sustained pattern of extraordinary spending that began almost as soon as his income reached stratospheric levels. Unlike some celebrities who experience financial difficulties due to addiction, gambling, or being defrauded by business managers, Cage's situation was more straightforward. He simply spent more money than he earned, even though he was earning more than almost anyone else in Hollywood. His spending spree touched virtually every category of luxury goods and collectibles, from real estate to exotic animals, from rare comics to prehistoric fossils, from cars to castles. Each purchase, viewed in isolation, might have been justifiable for someone of his wealth, but the cumulative effect was devastating. Cage wasn't just buying things. He was acquiring them at a pace and volume that suggested either a fundamental misunderstanding of personal finance or a complete disregard for financial sustainability. The real estate portfolio that Cage assembled during his peak years stands as perhaps the most visible symbol of his spending excesses. At various points, he owned 15 residential properties scattered across multiple countries and continents, including several mansions in California, a country estate in Rhode Island, a medieval castle in England, and waterfront properties in the Bahamas. Each property required not just the initial purchase price but ongoing maintenance, property taxes, insurance, and staffing costs that added up to millions of dollars annually. The Bel Air mansion alone, purchased for $6.5 million, required extensive renovations and upkeep. The castle in Somerset, England, dating back to the 14th century, presented unique preservation challenges that came with appropriately unique costs. His New Orleans properties, which included a mansion in the French Quarter, required constant attention in a city known for its historic preservation requirements and susceptibility to storm damage. The cumulative carrying costs of this real estate empire would have challenged even the most robust income stream, and they represented just one category of Cage's expenditures: the collection obsession and lifestyle excess. Beyond real estate, Cage's collecting habits revealed a man driven by passion rather than prudence, someone who viewed rare and unusual items not as investments but as essential acquisitions that spoke to his soul and creative spirit. His collection of comic books alone represented a significant fortune, including a pristine copy of Action Comics No. 1, the 1938 issue that introduced Superman to the world. This particular comic, one of the most valuable in existence, was eventually sold at auction for over $2 million, but its sale came only after Cage's financial troubles had become undeniable. The comic book collection extended far beyond this single prize, encompassing thousands of issues spanning decades of publication history, stored in climate-controlled facilities that required ongoing expense. For Cage, these weren't mere collectibles but connections to the mythology and storytelling that had inspired his acting career, making them emotionally invaluable even as they consumed his resources. The exotic and unusual items in Cage's possession painted a picture of a man whose tastes ran toward the macabre and prehistoric. He purchased a 67-million-year-old dinosaur skull, specifically a Tarbosaurus bitar specimen, for $276,000 at auction, outbidding fellow actor Leonardo DiCaprio in the process. This purchase later became controversial when it was revealed that the skull had been illegally smuggled out of Mongolia, forcing Cage to repatriate it to the Mongolian government without compensation. He owned shrunken pygmy heads, allegedly authentic artifacts that raised both ethical and legal questions about the acquisition of human remains. His collection included a pet octopus, housed in a specially designed aquarium, because Cage believed that observing the creature would improve his acting abilities. These weren't the purchases of someone carefully managing wealth. They were the acquisitions of someone for whom money had become abstract, a tool for satisfying curiosity and passion without regard for accumulation or preservation of capital. Cage's automotive collection rivaled those of dedicated car enthusiasts, featuring rare and exotic vehicles that individually cost hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. He owned a fleet that included a Lamborghini once belonging to the Shah of Iran, valued at $450,000, 9 Rolls-Royces purchased simultaneously in a single buying spree, and numerous other luxury and vintage automobiles. Each vehicle required not just the purchase price but insurance, storage, and maintenance costs that added thousands or tens of thousands of dollars annually per car. The collection wasn't organized around investment value or automotive history but seemed to reflect Cage's impulsive acquisition style, where seeing something desirable led immediately to purchasing it without consideration of whether he already owned similar items or had practical use for another vehicle. Stories circulated of cars sitting unused in storage facilities, depreciating in value while accumulating costs, perfect symbols of wealth mismanagement. The financial unraveling and desperate measures. The consequences of Cage's spending became impossible to ignore by 2009. When reports surfaced that he owed the Internal Revenue Service over $6 million in back taxes. This revelation shocked the entertainment industry and the public, as it seemed incomprehensible that someone who had earned hundreds of millions of dollars could find himself in such dire financial straits. The tax debt wasn't an isolated problem but rather a symptom of systematic financial mismanagement that had been building for years. Cage's spending had so far outpaced his income that he lacked the liquid assets to pay his tax obligations, despite continuing to work regularly and command substantial salaries. The IRS debt eventually grew to approximately $14 million as penalties and interest accumulated, forcing Cage into a desperate scramble to liquidate assets and generate income to satisfy his obligations to the government. The asset liquidation that followed painted a sad picture of forced sales and fire sale prices. The comic book collection, including the prized Action Comics #1, went to auction. Real estate properties were listed, often selling for less than their purchase prices after accounting for improvements and transaction costs. The Dinosaur skull situation became particularly embarrassing when the illegality of its acquisition became public, forcing Cage to surrender it without any financial recovery. Each sale represented not just a loss of the item itself but often a financial loss, as distressed sellers rarely achieve optimal prices, and Cage's situation was widely known in collector circles. The Nevada and Louisiana properties, the European castle, the Bahamas estates, all were systematically placed on the market as Cage attempted to convert his illiquid assets into cash to satisfy creditors and tax authorities. Cage's response to his financial crisis involved not just selling assets but dramatically increasing his work output, accepting virtually any role offered regardless of quality or artistic merit. His filmography from 2009 onward reflects this desperation, with Cage appearing in numerous direct-to-video releases, low-budget action films, and projects that would have been beneath his consideration during his peak years. Films like Season of the Witch, Drive Angry, Stolen, Rage, and dozens of others represented paycheck work rather than artistic choices, and critics noted the decline in quality and Cage's apparent disengagement from material that didn't challenge or interest him. He became prolific to the point of oversaturation, appearing in multiple films per year, sometimes 4 or 5, flooding the market with his presence and further diminishing his perceived value as a premium talent. The legal battles that accompanied Cage's financial collapse added another layer of complication and expense. He sued his former business manager, Samuel Levin, for negligence and fraud, claiming that Levin had failed to pay taxes on time, had led him into ruinous real estate investments, and had generally mismanaged his finances. Levin countersued, arguing that Cage's financial problems stemmed entirely from his own excessive spending and refusal to heed advice about financial restraint. The lawsuit revealed embarrassing details about Cage's spending habits and the warnings he had ignored, painting a picture of an actor who had enabled his own financial destruction despite professional advice to the contrary. Lessons learned and the long road to recovery. The ultimate resolution of Cage's financial crisis took years of sustained effort, career compromises, and fundamental lifestyle changes. By 2012, reports indicated that Cage had successfully paid off his IRS debt through the combination of asset sales and relentless work, but the cost to his reputation and career trajectory was immense. The actor who had once been selective about roles, who had won an Academy Award and commanded $20 million per film, had been reduced to accepting virtually anything that paid, appearing in productions that barely received theatrical releases and sometimes went straight to streaming platforms or video-on-demand services. His brand, once associated with intensity and unpredictability in service of artistic vision, became associated with quantity over quality, with appearing in anything for a paycheck. The psychological toll of this financial collapse and career decline remained largely private, though Cage occasionally addressed his situation in interviews with a mixture of defiance and resignation. He defended his spending as reflecting his passions and interests, arguing that he had pursued what made him happy rather than living a conventional wealthy lifestyle. He acknowledged mistakes but resisted portraying himself as purely a victim, accepting responsibility for decisions that had seemed reasonable, or at least emotionally necessary at the time. This attitude, while admirable in its refusal to completely blame others, also suggested that Cage hadn't fully internalized the lessons of his financial catastrophe, still viewing his spending spree through a lens of artistic passion rather than fiscal irresponsibility. The broader lessons from Cage's financial collapse extend beyond individual psychology to systemic issues in how entertainment industry wealth is managed and how celebrities are enabled in destructive financial behavior. Cage's story illuminates the dangers of conflating income with wealth, of assuming that high earnings will continue indefinitely without planning for variability or decline. His business managers and advisors, despite their later legal disputes, clearly failed to impose sufficient guardrails on his spending or to make the consequences of his trajectory sufficiently clear and urgent. The entertainment industry's culture of enablement, where wealthy clients are surrounded by people financially dependent on maintaining their favor, creates environments where prudent advice is unwelcome and financial reality is obscured by the continued availability of credit and the next paycheck. In recent years, Cage has experienced something of a critical rehabilitation, with film critics and cultural commentators reassessing his career and finding value in performances that were initially dismissed or overlooked. Films like Mandy and Pig showcase Cage's ability to bring depth and nuance to roles when given material worthy of his talents, reminding audiences of why he had achieved such heights in the first place. His willingness to work steadily through his financial crisis, to accept humiliation and reduce circumstances rather than declare bankruptcy or disappear from public life, earned him a measure of respect. He has spoken about being debt-free and having learned to live more modestly, though his continued prolific output suggests that financial security remains a concern and priority. The final accounting of Nicolas Cage's financial rise and fall reveals a cautionary tale about the difference between earning money and building wealth, about the dangers of unchecked spending regardless of income level, and about the importance of financial literacy and discipline even for those operating at the highest levels of professional success. Cage earned a fortune that should have secured his financial future for multiple lifetimes. But through a combination of passionate collecting, real estate speculation, lifestyle inflation, and inadequate financial management, he managed to spend it all and plunge himself into significant debt. His recovery, achieved through years of grinding work and asset liquidation, represents a second act that few could have predicted during his peak years of success and excess. The story serves as a reminder that financial security isn't about how much you earn but about the relationship between earnings, spending, and planning, a lesson that Cage learned the hardest possible way.